And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
Makes me very sad.
If my existence wasn't so tied to the Jetsons doorbell as my text message, I'd definitely make it Mando.
Oh my god, that's probably one of the things I'm gonna miss the most, if I'm being honest, because I just loved saying that. Like, it was just, it's so weird how someone who's like so new to the franchise is so iconic, and I feel like we've seen that happen like twice now with Balin and Greef Karga.
An appropriate name today.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is Greef but love Persevering?
What is Greef Karga? Name of this episode.
Yeah.
Lock it in, buddy.
It's locked in. I think he'd appreciate that.
He would.
He'd appreciate that.
He 1000% would. You go, what is Greef? ... Karga.
If not, love Persevering. I am here with my guy, Matty Ice.
Ice Cube.
Rogue One.
Always checked in.
He's always checked in. I am your other host, Mikey, aka the Human Holocron, aka
Darth Plagueis the Wise himself.
And you are listening to And Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast, Mando.
A great apropos impression of our fallen friend, Carl Weathers. Matt, we're going to do a short but sweet one this week. I think we were like thinking up episodes to do this week, and then this news dropped, and it just felt like this was the only thing I think we could possibly talk about.
The only episode that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. All right,
we lost a true icon.
I was about to say, let's not bury the lead. R.I.P. Carl Weathers. R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P. He has now become one with the Force. More than that.
Yeah. There's so many things he did in his career that we can, I think, look back on fondly, and I will continue to do so. There are things that he's done that have like ingratiated themselves into my friendships in so many ways that like you don't realize it until someone like this kind of like makes their departure from this mortal plane. For sure. But just from Rocky to Predator, Happy Gilmore, I mean, like all of these things well before he touched Star Wars
3.
Toy Story 3. He's Combat Carl, right? I think.
Yeah. Yep, Combat Carl.
So many of these. He was an Oakland Raider, a storied career.
Yeah, man.
And it was great to see that he was not only acting, in The Mandalorian, but he also got the chance to direct some episodes.
What didn't he do?
I know. This man was
he was a mensch. A true mensch.
He really was. We watch our heroes turn human in front of us. But I think heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
Oh, quote from my favorite movie of all time.
And
he said, I don't know, kid. You're the one with the rubber legs. You tell me. He's like, you want me to pickle the beast? You're the one with the rubber legs. You tell me.
But yeah, let's usually we typically like to give people their flowers before they're gone, but with the departure of Carl Weathers, Greef Karga himself, let's talk about it. How are you feeling right now? What were your first thoughts? What are some of your favorite moments that he has brought to life for you?
Big facts. Me and you have talked about this on and off, Mike. I have a very rational relationship with death. Like, it's not really something that like overwhelms me. It definitely sucked. Let me say that.
Oh,
People
yeah.
be like, oh, he didn't care. No, it definitely sucked. Like, you know, especially like unexpected celebrity deaths. Like usually like it definitely like, you know, throws me off my axis because it's like, oh no, because, you know, like it's different when it's someone that you love or someone in the public eye that's like open about their, you know, their health journey, i.e. Christina Applegate, or, you know, actors that, you know, of that ilk. But it's like, I didn't know Carl Weathers to be sick or, you know, or declining, maybe not sick, but she was just like declining. Whatnot.
I think it's safe to say 76 no longer feels it's that old.
Yeah, my mom will be 71 in June. So it's just like, you know, with celebrities that are like, you know, not to sound insensitive, but like, you know, dropping left and right, you know, of like age. And kind of like what you were just saying, Mike, it's just like where we're at right now in the year 20th of 24, like I just expect that, you know, unless something bad happens, people checking off in like their 90s. Like even 80 feels like, oh, you should be out there, you know, playing canasta. Like go hit that shuffleboard, girl.
Go play some bocce ball.
Yeah, you know, like, let's hit some more water aerobics, girl. Get them joints stretched out. So yeah, it's like here in 76, and I know like, you know, people who like grew up like, you know, like the 40s, the 50s, like whatever, you know, to them, especially back then, 76 is like, oh, they lived a full life. But, you know, like, I guess we've been spoiled by, you know, like advances in modern medicine to where it's just like, I just kind of expect, you know, elderly people to, you know, transition well into their late 80s and 90s. So like when I hear 76, especially, you know, Carl Weathers, you know, and a credit to whether it is that he was just turning forth a really good acting effort, he seemed very active, like for like an elder statesman. He seemed, you know, sprightly, if you will. So like I said, so like when stuff like this, for matter of fact, this I will say, not to apples and oranges. Why can't fruit be compared people's deaths? But like it's very similar in feeling, but not to the gravity because we like knew the cause of death, to like Chadwick Boseman. Like he kept his prostate cancer a secret the entire time. Like he was actively fighting cancer while playing the Black Panther and stuff like that. So it's like when he just, you know, woke up one day, I remember like where I was when that announcement came through, and it was just like, whoa, he was sick. Like this is crazy. And obviously because he was so young, I want to steer clear from using the term like a more impactful death, because like what does that even mean? But it's like it's different when a younger person passes away prematurely versus if someone older passes away. What I still would feel is
Carl had a very long career, and we're very happy for all the things he was able to accomplish. Chadwick's just felt like gone way too soon, while his short career had some heavy hitting performances.
Like my man was Action Jackson.
I know. I mean, I think when you're experiencing deaths like these, like for us as younger people, when we lose someone who's closer in age to us, we see a bit of our own potential being, you know what I mean? Like we're able to relate more to the fact that someone is gone like that. Whereas that someone who's older, you know, you hope that they passed quietly in the night and that it wasn't anything painful,
right?
And from there, like, you know, outside of that, you're like, wow, what a long, great life they lived. And Carl certainly lived quite the life. It seemed like in some ways his life was just getting started in terms of his like directorial career. But his impact, you know, obviously was felt by a lot of people. We obviously, being a Star Wars podcast, have this love and affection for him because he's entered our galaxy in a way.
I've been
in a whole new light. But yeah, I was gonna say, but like Creed, for the mass population, like people see him as Apollo Creed, they see him as Chubbs. Like, Action how do you Jackson. Not? Action Jackson is a huge one. There's another role. It's a very underrated one.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
What?
I think this is a super underrated role, but it just kind of goes to show how many avenues of pop culture Carl Weathers injected himself into. But he's the basketball god in regular show.
Oh shit.
And,
yeah.
Like he's not in it a ton, but it's enough that it was just like, man, I'll never, like, that was a great episode, and it's so awesome that like Carl was that character. So definitely celebrating him here, and if there's things in Mando like story wise that I'm just like, fuck, I was like really liking his character trajectory, and now I just wonder how much is going to affect things. Not that that's my first thought, but it is definitely something that's crept into my mind over the past couple of days.
I'll try to think of another example as I'm saying the sentence, but I love when an actor who is super well known for something can like do something else, like if whether it's like later in life or shortly after like their most prominent role, and it's just like, oh shit, that's such and such, like that's crazy, and it totally like subverts your like expectations of like what they are as an actor, because a lot of people when they get like that big roles, like I won't say you get pigeonholed, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's what you're known for, like type time. like I would say pre the Green Book, one, I love Viggo Mortensen. He's aces to me. But like pre the Green Book or History of Violence, which was a super slept on movie, like he's Aragorn to most people. Yeah. Like that's just that's his role. Like same with Orlando Bloom. Shit, fuck, a lot of the cast of the Lord of the Rings, like that's the role.
Yeah,
Billy
I
Boyd,
think you either view Orlando Bloom as fucking, oh my god, I could
Will Turner,
or
Legolas.
It's one or the other. Like he hasn't done anything since that you're like
exactly
until he does, right? Because he will at some point.
And so fun, like we're like that's kind of where Carl Weathers was always Apollo Creed to me, like, and I don't think I was alive when the first when Rocky 2 and 3 came out. I definitely wasn't alive. That was in the 80s. So it was like, with as a kid of the 90s, it's like, especially living in Philly, we were introduced to like the Rocky movies like later in life and whatnot, what have you. And I remember like seeing Happy Gilmore when he was like the golf coach, and I was like, oh shit, that's Apollo Creed. And it was just like, I didn't know he had this type of range. And it was just like, really, and even like Little Nicky, shit, even in fucking Mando, even though like at that point, like I said, Carl Weathers has had such a storied career. He's one of the people now that I look at like he's the thing. Like he's not his roles. Like, he, like they say like, oh, the championship doesn't make the man makes the championship type time or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like I put Carl Weathers in that book. Like anytime I see him in something, I'm like, yeah, he's Greef Carl. Like, but like, no, that's Carl Weathers. Like I put Johnny Depp in that book. Like anything Johnny Depp does, that's Johnny Depp. Like
it's in the credits, they get a Carl Weathers as this.
Right.
Like it's not just like their name,
and then
like
there's the character Carl Weathers, Greef Karga. yeah. Like
there's like a, oh fuck, I think Samuel L. Jackson has started getting this treatment. I'm pretty sure in the Secret Invasion credits, it's Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
He's another one of those ones. You're like, it's just like, because like we just said, like Orlando Bloom, Viggo Mortensen. I want to think of like a better example, like somebody who's like they've kind of lost their identity and they're like just the character that they played and whatnot, what have you. But like certain actors, it's just like it doesn't matter how big the role is, it's always like who they are is bigger than the role. Like the Johnny Depps, the Christian Bale. Like there's never anything that they can do where they get like swallowed up and like lose their identity in the people's eyes. It's like, no, Johnny Depp, that's always going to be Johnny Depp. Like no matter how deep he is. Maybe the younger kids obviously would probably like know him as Captain Jack, but but that's for all intents and purposes, that's just Johnny Depp, like playing Johnny Depp. But I put Carl Weathers in that box. Like he's had such a storied career and is such like a strong personality that I don't see him as his character. It's not to say that he's not a great actor. Like, so I'm not saying like, oh, he can't act. Like he's just playing the same person.
Because that's a criticism I hand out to Sandra Bullock from time to time, where it's like,
Sandra Bullock definitely plays the same character and everything.
Yeah, like it's just miscongeniality in space.
Michael B. Jordan plays the same character in everything he does, except that awkward moment. It's the only performance he turned in that I was like, and Killmonger, he bodied that. But other than that, he just plays Killmonger in different settings. For comparison to over explain, not saying like, oh, I just see Carl Weathers like a Sandra Bullock where she just plays the same character in different mediums. It's he's such a strong presence that, you know, I revere him enough that it's just like no role is too big for Carl Weathers. He's always going to be bigger than the role, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like Gary Oldman. Like, no matter what Gary Oldman does, he's always going to be bigger than that role. And it's just like, yo, Gary Oldman, he fucked it up. He killed it. But that's Gary Oldman. Like, that's the guy. Yeah. But yeah, no. R.I.P. Carl Weathers again. You're probably gonna say that a lot.
Seriously, a lot. Let's go through some of our. I think we'll do our favorite Carl Weathers moments prior to our favorite Greef Karga moments. Just in remembrance. So as most people know who are listening to this, Siebes and I, storied friendship. We created Annie Are You Okay together.
Star Wars podcast.
We used to make YouTube videos with our GT producer on the Dragon Ball for Life podcast, Paul.
Hey, shout out to our guy Paul.
We did this stupid video called Penguin Poaching, where Siebes was an Australian poacher and I was a penguin. And there was a storied rivalry. And at the end of it, we become friends. And I really got to give
penguins in Australia.
Nope. Really got to give a lot of credit to Paul here. I think it was either his idea or Siebes' idea or a tandem of the two. When we become friends at the end and we go to do a handshake, instead of, as we're going to embrace each other with our hands, Paul cut in the Predator handshake where Arnold and Carl are doing like the massive like clap thing and they're flexing super hard.
I love that.
That is a really, I know this sounds weird, but it's like a big moment in our friendship, and it's something that we reference often. And it's just something that like will always like relate me to Carl in that sense. Like, it's like literally in my mind, like I remember that time and that handshake as if it was played out of the fucking movie instead of what we were actually filming, just because of a smart editing choice by Paul. But it was still something that it's one of my favorite movie moments from him. And then I know I brought up the regular show thing with him as the basketball god, but a lot of people feel like we're talking about how funny he is in Arrested Development. And I honestly forgot that he was in Arrested Development because it's been so long since I watched it. But he does have that one moment where he's talking to Buck. Why can't it? Who's the guy who paints him? Tobias? Does Tobias paint himself blue? I think so. The Blue Man Group. Yeah, I haven't watched Arrested Development in such a long time. Such a great. It's been a long time, but he tells him that he's like, "Oh, you got a rib bone here. You put that in bring this home. You got some meat on it. Put it in a stew. You almost got yourself a soup there." I was just like, this is the weirdest fucking line, but it's great.
I love it. Yeah, I'll probably say for me, obviously Apollo Creed is like the fruit. So of all the great moments, because I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up at least an Apollo Creed moment. I don't remember which Rocky it was. I want to say he died in 4, right? Well, spoiler.
If you haven't seen him by now, yeah, right. Carl Dreg is a real son of a bitch.
if he dies, he dies. Like type time. But it was either 3 or 4. I don't remember. But it's the scene where, you know, like Rocky's lost his confidence and him and Creed are like training, and, you know, Adrian's just watching, and, you know, Rocky's got like the headgear on. He's just kind of, you know, phoning it in. And Apollo's like, "Come on, Rock, like, come on." He's like, "Got to do it." Rocky's like, tomorrow. He's just like, "There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow." I was like, because that's just, I like, not to like be super cheesy or whatever, but it's just like, you know, I have a tattoo like on my neck that, you know, says like, "We only are today." And like, that just, not saying that I got it from that quote, but that's just kind of always been a headspace that I try to keep myself in. Like, you know, anything worth doing, do it now. Because it's like, as we see having this conversation, like, we don't know what tomorrow has in store for us. We don't know if tomorrow's even gonna get here. So it's like, yeah, that's just that there is no tomorrow. It's just like, that's facts. Like, yeah. We all do it. Like, we all as people just kind of look at our time here as like guaranteed. Like, we're just like, you know what, as long as I just avoid deathly things, I should be fine. But, you know, that's why they're called accidents. That's why it's called, you know, unfortunate events. Like, it's unplanned for. So just that scene, even though like in the context of the scene, you know, they're training for a fight and it's very literal, like the figurative meaning for me, it was very impactful. And then on a more lighthearted note, just his turn as Chubbs. Like it's just to go from being Action Jackson, Apollo Creed, and then just Chubbs. You know what it is? If I look at it as a super early version of like Tom Cruise as Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. Like it was such a far departure from what you know him as, but it worked. Like it works. Like him as Chubbs, like with the fake hand and the alligator and all that shit. It's just like, bro, I just love it. And like I said, I had that like, oh shit, that's Apollo. I didn't say shit probably because I was a kid, but I was shit. Like, yeah, it's like, and for real, it probably was like, because I've seen Happy Gilmore a bunch of times. It probably was like, I probably had seen it mad times before I put like oh shit, that's Apollo Creed. Like, that's crazy. It's nuts. So yeah, I'll probably say Chubbs is probably my favorite Carl Weathers performance for sure. Loved every second.
It's so good. I definitely feel like I need to do a movie marathon of his movies now.
I mean, there's a lot of them. Like just the heavy hitters, the big ones for sure.
So, you know, we obviously love him for a lot of those other performances, but I really grew to love him because of Mando.
And like a lot of people opened him up to a whole new audience of people.
Yeah, and he was iconic from the moment he was on screen, like that. Mando, they hate you, Mando.
They hate you, Mando.
That shit is like so good, dude. I don't know what it is. Like, it was one of those things where, like, I think when people want to impersonate you, like, it's like this thing that drives you to, like, those lines.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah, and like, I think that there were so many things that he said in the first season of Mandalorian that really I was like, this guy's fucking great, man. Like, so happy that in the third episode of Mando, he put the piece of Beskar on his chest and that Mando was smart enough to shoot him right where it was. That seemed like a convenient plot device, but I actually think that Mando did it on purpose.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's like, you know what? This guy, he might be useful to me later in life.
yeah. He may be after me right now, but he was good to me. And there's so many iconic like lines from that first season of Mando, but he was really starting to grow into this high magistrate. Greef Karga was a man of the people. He went from, you know, being head of this bounty hunters guild to rebuilding Navarro, and it was prospering under his, you know,
Dave Navarro. He rebuilt Dave Navarro.
He rebuilt Dave Navarro.
Like, yeah,
Ink Master wouldn't be what it is without
Greef Karga. Rebuilt Dave Navarro. Ink Master would have shout outs to our man's David, who was on Ink Master. Like, stay drawing on IG. Yeah, you know, that's all thanks to Greef Karga.
All thanks to Greef Karga.
Thanks to Greef Karga.
It's one of those things where it's like, I am really going to miss him in Mando, and I'm sure that there's going to be heavy rewrites. I just don't think you recast someone like Carl.
Yeah, nah.
And I do think that like his eventual character trajectory was going to be that he was going to have to die for the plot to move forward.
Yeah, I could see him being a character that would have passed on.
Yeah, but I think that like having it happen so soon like this might completely change the way we look at things. I appreciate that his character had so much growth in a short period of time, and that he was able to kind of like catapult other characters to where they needed to go. Like, Greef Karga wasn't just the head of the Bounty Hunter Guild. When he became High Magistrate, he was responsible for Mando reclaiming a bit of his own life, you know, and gave him a place to stay on Dave Navarro. That shit will never die.
I wonder if his death makes it more palatable and possible for Gina Carano. That's her name, right? That's her.
Yeah.
To come back in, like, not as a way to, like, I guess kind of not replace him, but like whatever thread they could have had for him that could have been filled by her, because it's a familiar face. She was an authoritative figure. She could like slide into that, even if it's not like her literally becoming like High Magistrate of Navarro. Just like whatever his story thread could be taken by her as a way to like not have to massively rewrite the show. I could also see, and you know, poor Navarro, it's been through enough. But I could see, like, you know, as part of Thrawn and or the Moffs, you know, get back to Din, like them bombing Navarro, and it'd be
as like punishment.
Like off-screen death, and then they're like, yeah, like no one made it, like type time, and that like pissing him off, and then it's get back time.
Yeah, that's kind of how I viewed it happening, where it's like Navarro was going to have to
suffer again,
suffer with Greef to get back at Din for what he's done to the Empire.
Suffer with Greef, double entendre. Don't ask him how.
Don't ask me. So yeah, I do think that's definitely possible. The Gina Carano thing, I think she's burned her bridge too far.
Because she won't stop talking? Or because she wouldn't stop talking?
Because she wouldn't stop talking, because she doesn't think that people are allowed to identify as different genders still.
Right.
I did see her tribute to Carl on Twitter. It was well worded, and I definitely think that she wholeheartedly meant it, and that they were.
Look, man, I didn't even know that happened. She trying to get back in. She trying to get back in there.
I hope maybe that Gina Carano finds it in her heart to change and accept people for who they
Therapy?
are. Yeah. Question mark? Therapy?
Therapy? Question mark?
But I think that there'd have to be a lot of apologies for her to make her way back in. Would I like it for the sense that, like, oh, she did grow as a person, and therefore her character gets to come back into the fold and be another strong female character in Star Wars? Sure. But at this point in time, I just think that that's highly unlikely. So someone else taking over, I don't know if there's a character right now that fits that mold, but
that's the only reason why I brought her name up. Just like logistic wise, if Disney would be like, fuck, we don't have time to rewrite this whole character arc, who can we put in the spot? I mean, fucking Cobb Vanth, I could essentially,
true,
you know, like
true.
Feel that, like I said, if there's a thread of someone joins Mando on his quest, like an authoritative figure joins Mando on his quest and eventually meets his untimely demise type time. But I guess Cobb wouldn't really work because they just got him back from dying or almost dying.
And it's like he has a lot of deep ties to Tatooine. I guess you could write it in a way where it's like, oh, he feels like Boba Fett is properly taken care of.
Right.
Tatooine, he can move on to help somewhere else, maybe. Who knows? I think there's a lot of questions that are going to need to be answered at this point. And I think that's one of the things that, like, with Baylan, with Ray Stevenson dying, as unfortunate as it was, I think it was early enough that a recast doesn't feel out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, you can't, and not only that, like, he closed out the show, like, for all intents and purposes. Like, you can't not. In my head, there's no way to write him out without it looking like you wrote him out. If that makes sense. Like, it would be like a glaring, oh, y'all hit the proverbial panic button and didn't. I know a lot of people complain about it. But, like, I like the way that Disney handled Chadwick's passing. Like, not recasting Black Panther, but technically recasting just passing the mantle off to Shuri, which does happen in the comics. But, you know, it made you know, storybook sense. And I love the part how they tied into, like, you know, Killmonger burning all the fruit in the first one. It was like, oh shit, he got sick and we couldn't make him better because you burnt all the fruits. Like, I like how they like did that. But with Baylan Skoll, like, with such a cliffhangery of an ending and, like, speculations running rampant, and we know that we're getting into, like, the father, the daughter, the son, and all that stuff, like, I don't see a way that you can just, like, backtrack that and have him, like, written out of the show and still move that storyline forward. Like, that character kind of needs to exist, like, for this to make sense. And like we kind of said, if that's a situation where it's just like he, like, you know, walks through some shit and goes through, like, a metamorphosis or, like, changes into the sun, like, fit, like, literally,
there's, like, story ways you can, like, work around it, I think. Very easy. And with Greef Karga, there really isn't.
You can write him out, like, it's.
But there are ways to write him out that I think would make sense for the story. It's just a shame that we won't get to see one final, unless they go the CGI route, which, who knows, maybe his family will be fine with that. I know I'm not crazy about it, but if it's, like, for one final scene, I think technology is going to be even further along in terms of, like, what AI is able to do in terms of deep faking and stuff like that. Like, they might actually be able to
you know what might
give him
be cool,
a final moment.
So the tricky part so I had a thought and then a thought against my thought. So I was gonna say, what might be cool if we go along the line of like, Moff or Thrawn, bombing Navarro as a sign of like punishment to Din and all that. I wouldn't mind like a final goodbye, like hollow projection of him.
Yeah.
Like to Din, like, giving him like maybe Din needed a piece of a puzzle that he didn't to help solve some shit, and he's like, hey, like, I don't have a lot of time, but before whatever happens, these coordinates will blah, whatever the situation might be. But then my thought against that thought is like killing off someone who died might look distasteful. like the optics might look bad. Like, as opposed to like dying off screen, like it's like, sure. And it's mentioned like actually like having him on and then he's not there, because it's like if you have him on, whether it's CGI and then he's no longer there, it's kind of like showcasing the death, if that makes sense. Like versus like if we come back season 3 or end of the movie and he passed in that gap, or if we just see the bombing and then it's like, oh, there were no survivors and it's just like an implied thing. I think like having him on and then not having him on, it kind of just like it's going to remind people that he died. Like, oh yeah, he died in the show too.
I'm actually like, you kind of have my brain turning. I didn't think that we were going to go down like speculation route today, but I do
Star
think
Wars
that
podcast,
because he had that like bust in his office of himself, and if he did die off screen and like left something behind to Mando, and that became like a big part of the story, and it was like
a chip or something, like hit it in the statue.
Well, if they used like AI to replicate Carl's voice, which I know is something that the actors were fighting against, but for this instance, it feels like an ethically right way of sending off a character that people really care about, someone that I think a character Carl was very passionate about. I think that potentially could be a tasteful way to send him off without actually having to show him and worry about like the deep faking of things. And just by using his voice in like a parting message to him, where like, if he's sick and he's like, Mando, I don't have much time left, but I've left you this thing. I don't know why. I feel like that's in character for him. Like, I
feel that. Or even something that's just like, if they do bomb Navarro and, Din goes there and he's like, shifting through the rubble and he like finds the statue or whatever. Maybe it's like a little voice recording in there or something, like finds like a holocron projection or something like that. But yeah, I can see that. And who's to say like how they kind of did Alec Guinness's voice in Force Awakens? Like, who's to say that there's not enough dialogue from like deleted scenes or past things that he's done where they might be able to like string together a sentence or two?
Yeah.
Is his actual voice. And and not have it sound crazy, like
for sure,
editing, baby.
I mean, they definitely. There's a lot of interviews that he's done where they could pull stuff out of. I saw a great clip from 2023 Star Wars Celebration where he was just thanking the crowd for being there and being so passionate about the Mandalorian. I'm sure that there's a lot that they could do, and that's on the table. It just would be nice if he got a really not cool, but like a meaningful send off in a show that he had such a large impact on.
Big facts.
I don't think we need to go on for too much longer, but we definitely need to bring up our favorite Greef Karga moments. So how about we just pass the baton back and forth until we run out? But how about do the magic hand thing?
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
What a great one.
I love when they reunited in the latest season, and like Grogu was like super happy to see him. That was a good one. And then he like and then he built him like the walker thing and all.
Yeah, the IG walker.
Yeah, the IG walker.
And he's the big proponent of letting him ride in it. And even
exactly.
Amanda's like, nah.
He was like, no. He's like, nah, I let him. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like it was like, having kids myself, like you deal with that where you're like, nah, your grandparents like, nah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no.
He definitely was like the grandpa to Grogu. That is such a good point.
Exactly. So that their whole relationship, like I could just point out mad examples of that, but like their whole dynamic was I liked it a lot.
He saves him.
Yeah. Like not only that, but it's like, a lot of Grogu, well, not a lot. Grogu's nonverbal because, he's just like a baby by our standards. So he like can't talk and everything. So like they're like opposites attract buddy romance that like developed through the show, even though they can't really speak to one another. I thought that was always cool because it was like it kind of happened like under your nose, like, you know, because the in front of your face relationship is obviously like Din and Greef, and you know them becoming you know, enemies become friends become enemies, everyone treasure the answer for the journey. Like it was that but then it's just like, yo, like Grogu like really fucks with him, yeah. He's like, yo, that's my man's. Like, are we going to Dave Navarro? Can we go see my man's? We about to go see Pop. So yeah, that was a good one. And another honorable mention, I love the episode where they have to like escape through the Mandalorian tunnels and like the robot sacrifices himself. He had a lot of good one-liners. That episode, like when they're like going through like the mountains and shit and whatnot and the lava. He had a lot of good one-liners. If I think of one that pops into my head, but I remember him being like carrying that episode. Yeah.
I also love that he the way he treated Horatio Sands' character, the Mithril.
Yeah,
he's his bondsman, or not bondsman. He's like his accountant, and he's just giving him the like the business around every turn in that one episode where they're like infiltrate the Empire's thing. He's like, if you want to melt, then you can stay here. Otherwise, fix the elevator.
Yeah. That was a good episode too. I like that episode a lot.
He directed that episode.
Did he?
Yeah, so the action beats for that episode are really good. He absolutely killed it on that. I do believe he had one episode he directed for Mandalorian Season 3. I'll pull that up. I think it's the one on Navarro when the pirates attack.
That would make sense. Pulling double duty. Yeah.
I also think that when the pirates are at the school and he won't let them...
that was going to be my next one.
Yeah, but he like shows that he's still got it by like whipping the pistol out and shooting all the guns out of their hands. That to me is that was a really good one.
That was a great one too. You know what's funny about like the Greef Karga character? It's like he had such is weird. That he's in the first episode, he's starts the show like with this.
Yo, he like directed the Foundling episode, which is the one that brought Ahmed Best back.
That was a great episode with Grogu's flashback.
Yeah, with Grogu's flashbacks.
Sheesh, couldn't get that word out.
That was a great episode.
That was a really good episode. Jedi Temple Challenge.
I do think I saw something about Ahmed Best saying that Carl made his transition back to Star Wars a lot easier.
I bet
by being the director. Which
I was just about to say,
I don't know why I didn't connect that. Before,
I was literally just about to say, I wonder how integral or involved Carl was with getting Ahmed Best back, and you know, give justice for Ahmed. You know?
Yeah, for sure. No, and I think. Who better, right? Ahmed had such a like troubled past with Star Wars, and his redemption has been amazing. So happy for him. But for Carl to be like a source of inspiration and helping him through that is just speaks to the character of the man. You know,
big facts. Big facts. But what I was just saying is, it's so weird because you know, like Carl Weathers, huge star. Made a giant impact in Mandalorian. We talked about like how like deep in the roots of this show he is. It's so crazy because it's like he's in the show more often than not the show, but it does feel like he personifies like maximizing his screen time, because it's like, even though, because I wouldn't go as far as to call him a series regular, but like a step below, like reoccurring guest. But it's just like every time he's there, it feels big. Like it's just like, oh shit, Carl's back on, even though like we see him a lot. I think he was in like shit. I think in like the first season he was in like half the episodes.
He's in. He shows up quite a bit actually. He's in the
very first episode. That's what I'm saying. Like,
first episode, the third episode, he shows up as a hologram in the prison breakout episode, and then he's in the final 2 episodes of the show. So he was definitely like.
So that's like 50% of the show.
Ironically, he's only in 1 episode of the second season. one he directed.
Right,
He had a pretty large presence in this third season of Mando as well. They constantly are going back to Navarro. It's a big part of the plot. So yeah, there's a gravity to. I mean, totally piggybacking on what you're saying. Like, he did take up a lot of. I'm not going to say like emotional bandwidth, but character bandwidth in a positive way. In terms of like when you're thinking of characters from Mando, like he's got to be, if not 3, 4, like
1000%. Because there's a bunch of reoccurring guests like on Mandalorian, and like when you see him, like what's Shorty's name? I want to call her Peggy. I know that's not her name, but she just looks like a Peggy. The mechanic on Tatooine. What's her name?
Oh, Pelly.
I was close. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
I just thought she looked like a Peggy. Her shit could have been Miranda. I would have said Peggy anyway. like when Pelly shows up, it's a fun. Oh, hey, Pelly's here. It's fun. It's laughter and everything. And she's probably been in it just as much, if not more, than Carl Weathers was as Greef. But it's just like, when Carl comes in, even though he's been in so much, it's still like, oh yeah, a Carl Weathers episode. Even though we have mad Carl Weathers episodes, like I said, his presence is felt, and it is greatly appreciated for sure. He will be missed.
He will be missed. Well, Matt, I think that's all I have to say about Mr. Weathers right now. We'll certainly be missing him in all of Mandalorian's adventures. Obviously thoughts and vibes. I don't pray for people, but I send out all my positivity to those feeling the grief of losing our Greef Karga. It's definitely something that I think his storied career has been fantastic. I'm glad we can celebrate it, and I hope we continue to celebrate Carl for years to come, and that his impact is felt in different ways throughout the Mandalorian story, because he really was part of the DNA of the show.
Big facts. Big facts. I agree. And not to, when dealing with like shit like this, like when we're talking about like Star Wars and everything and nerd culture and whatnot, unless the conversation calls for it, I do just try to speak about things from like a fan's perspective, not necessarily a black fan's perspective. But I would be remiss to not highlight and vocalize like the importance of like what he is and was to like the African American community, just especially like back in the 80s with Rocky and stuff like that, having like a strong prominent black actor. It definitely meant a lot. Having him come into Star Wars, Star Wars is a lot better, and I would never go as to say that there's like a representation deficiency in the Star Wars universe. I feel like they're usually always ahead of the curve, and there's like blue and green people in there, so it's like we're not looking to Star Wars to be like the paragon of racial equality. Like, we're here to escape the bullshit and have fun and like enjoy ourselves, but they are still, especially now, they're super inclusive and self-aware, and I love it. But like again, having not even on a representation standpoint, but just having people of color in nerdy spaces is always an amazing visual for me, because we talked about that's literally why DB4L was started. So like people who look like me and Trav can like have a place to safely talk about anime and not feel judged. So it's like to have such a strong prominent black actor like Carl Weathers like join Star Wars, I'm positive that there's probably a lot of closeted Star Wars fans that now are just like, oh shit, y'all saw Mando? Even having Pedro Pascal, like I'm sure there was a lot of probably black and brown people who like Star Wars secretly, who couldn't really talk to it about people, but now it's like they felt like they had a leg to stand on. Like, oh, you watch Star Wars? Like, yeah, Carl Weathers. And then like, oh shit, I didn't know he was in there.
Yeah.
So
I really hope that like black, brown, whatever. White people in Star Wars have had their moment in the spotlight.
Y'all had your moment under the two suns.
We had our moment under two suns in this galaxy and every other one in the cinematic world. So I'm really happy that we got another black excellence in Star Wars, Greef Karga definitely fits that mold.
I mean, bringing into my best, things like of that nature.
Hell yeah.
The name drop of Quinlan Voss, Ice Cube Jr., and Reva, everything.
I'm just biding my time until my guy Childish Gambino can come back and play Lando Calrissian.
I would not be mad at that.
I would not be mad at that either.
Shout out to him. I heard music was on the way. Who knows? We'll see. It's been a minute. Still waiting on that Kanye album. Oh man. But Plagueis, you got anything else before we close this bad boy out?
No, I think I'm good to wrap it up here. Matt, thank you as always for joining me on Annie. Are you okay?
A Star Wars podcast, man. No, Michael. I was always
they hate you,
waiting.
Michael.
They hate you, Michael. I would always wait. Because for some reason, the way he said Mando, like it gave Nerf herder vibes, and I would always wait for Den to be like, "Yo, you can't say that." Like, whoa, like, it's Den. It's Den. You use my name, bro. We've known each other long enough. I always would wait for that scene. Like, what you just called me?
Oh man, fantastic.
Oh man, but. Animaniacs, it's like we always say here on Annie, Are You Okay? Star Wars podcast. It could be Action Jackson, it could have been Magnum PI, could have been Toy Story 4,
Combat Carl.
It could have been Happy Gilmore, it could have been an episode of Psych, could have been the Sasquatch Gang. The list goes on and on and on and on. But hey, life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, and he's gonna be okay.
Be okay. May the force be with you, everybody.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.
We out.